So we're 101 hectares of grazable land, and then there's 89 acres of support block where we're growing grass and maize. And we could graze some of that if we wanted to, but there is a few roads to cross in that, and they are quite major roads, so we don't. The farm is sort of split in half. There's half flood meadow, and this side of the farm is gravel. So this is great for early turnout and like when we're calving now, keeping cows out till November. The flood meadows can flood in February, can still be flooded in May, and they can flood at the end of September as well. So when we get out there, we need to make the most of that grass, but also be very mindful that this time of year, in a minute, it could be 2 foot underwater, and that can happen within a matter of 3 hours. There's basically half a mile down the river, there's a floodgate. They shut the floodgate. 3 hours later, you're not getting any cows out there. So that does determine how we graze that side of the farm, definitely. Also, be very mindful that this time of year, in a minute, it could be 2 foot underwater, and that can happen within a matter of 3 hours. There's basically half a mile down the river, there's a floodgate. They shut the floodgate. 3 hours later, you're not getting any cows out there. So that does determine how we graze that side of the farm, definitely.
Do you want to just talk us through soil types this side of the non-floodable area?
The soil under here is basically what is like this on this track. It is gravel. It is very free draining. You could drive a tractor out there 365 days a year and barely make a mark. Like, there are a few wet spots, but it is very dry, considering like the meadows are basically clay and they will hold water like no tomorrow. It's cost us about £905 a hectare to grow. It's probably a bit more expensive than some people I know, but it is our first time. As you can see, we made some silage bales last week and they've just been dotted in the headlands, ready to run out on the beat. We're going to basically start on this grass field here. This middle fence is going to come up, and then we're going to transition the heifers from the grass slowly onto the beat this way, and then they will basically finish this field by Christmas, and then we would transfer over. This is a 9-acre field, and then there's a 10-acre field there, and then we'll actually graze that one up to the greenhouses that way. But I've read a lot of stuff on it. I've listened to a lot of people that have grazed fodder beet. Apparently the fence needs to be really hot, like definitely back fencing them, and then also coming out here and checking them a couple of times a day, like during the transition period. But once we're through the transition period, we should be, touch wood, okay. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a learning curve, but really excited to see actually how the heifers perform out here on that. Since the contract farming agreement started, they've always outwintered the heifers because there hasn't been enough shed space. And we're not in an MVZ either. This is 140 days worth of fodder beet basically. So yeah, the plan is so we can actually stay out here until like near the end of March, rather than having to bring them back and put them on the platform and graze grass. What percentage is fodder beet and what is bales? We've allocated 4 bales a day for the 79 heifers basically, and then I think it works out at like 8 meters squared. You're saying more fodder beet, we'd have better growth rates and less silage. And we're hoping for a 20 tonne a hectare crop. So. Yeah, I will get out there and chuck a few squares out and pull it and weigh it, and then I'll let people know if they are interested in how much we did grow. So we drilled our first herbal lays just below the greenhouses there about 5 years ago, and then this went in 2 years ago. The reasons being we're getting very dry summers, and everyone's telling me that the herbals last during the dry weather and do grow more. They are definitely the greener fields, and definitely do have more grass and herbs in them when we do get into the middle of a drought. Top half of this field we would graze with cows, and then the bottom half in the last paddock we would graze with calves normally. We wouldn't be doing like any long 40-45 day rotations on it. If it comes in the grazing like after 21 days, that's when we're coming here and grazing it. Yeah, we would not be doing long rotations on herbal lays, basically plate meter every week, and then if this field's ready to graze, we will get on and graze it. Yeah, I'm not into like leaving this field and then we graze all the other fields here, go off somewhere else and then bring them back here. Like, it needs to fit in with our management plan as well, isn't it? So far the herbs are persisting, but it's whether like in like year 5 and 6 whether they are still there. There's a lot of clover. There's not as much grass as I would like. There is probably a lot of plantain and chicory. So the herbal lay we drilled out here, we have died down the chicory and the plantain in that mix. I do think in places it's quite open still, and like also at the start of the season and the end of the season, the herbs are great in the middle, but they don't grow as well at them. So it's probably trying to get that fine balance between having that nice summer growth from the herbs, but also getting that early. And a bit of a caveat to that, we obviously want to get out here early and graze out here late because it is the dry ground. So this has only had 30 kilos of urea on this year, and then it had one application of basically separated slurry about 3 weeks ago from the tower, and that is it all season. I'd say it depends on the time of the year, like on the plant, because of the chicory and the plantain has gone a bit stemmier. They don't eat that as well, like probably towards like late August time. But yeah, they seem very happy out here. Wouldn't see any difference in the milk ticket or anything like that, and they wouldn't all be stood at the gate 2 hours later blaring and going. You know, we're not seeing higher growth rates in the herbal lays compared to like the standard lay. Like some of the grass lays here was just a standard like Mole Valley milk and meat, and that's been in like 10 years now, and that would do more than some of this like early on. But when it's been a dry year, they're definitely keeping up with like the good perennial and like the Thessalian grasses. It's just probably actually we need to drill a lot more on this gravel ground to get a fair representation of that, because we're probably out of like 100 acres, there's probably only about 20 acres of herbal lay so far. And because the ground is so hard and you can't get pigtails in, we did invest in these Gallagher tumble wheels, which just make moving the fence a lot easier when we walk. Are we all ready for the big tumble wheel trial? That is it. Like one.
When it flops over one leg.
Yeah, about a metre, yeah.
And the cows.
So a bit of geography, basically the tree line there, that is the river. The river is about a metre down on the bank at the moment, so we are right on the floodplain. This side of the farm, up until that hedge, has not had any fertiliser this year. It was still flooded out here in the middle of May. So the paddock you're stood in hadn't actually been grazed until July, because we basically decided we're going to shut that up for standing hay for cows, for the far off dries. So we had standing hay there, we've grazed it, and because I hate toppers, I haven't gone out there and tidied up all those nice seed heads, but it is a free reseed at the same time. We probably will get like maybe one more grazing out of here, and then it depends how bad it is next year, then I might succumb and maybe make some silage bales out here and tidy it up. But I think a few seed heads versus how much money we're going to waste on diesel and machinery is pretty fine.
in Josh's defence, if we were stood here this time last year, the quality of the swards would be inordinately better. So it is actually down to flooding and not being able to get on and trying to catch up.
So we try to stay out as long as we can during the day. That being said, we have had to fully house from like the 30th of September before. The latest we've ever managed to stay out was the 25th of November, so we always aim for that sort of date. If we can keep the cows out, we will. We would generally house at night from probably mid-October, but that being said, we are housed at night currently because we've only just managed to basically, growth is only just meeting demand at the moment. We had like no rain at all, and then in a week we had 3.5 inches, which was fantastic, but we're only just seeing the benefits of that now. We actually started calving in this paddock here, and that's why it probably looks really good at this end. Then it got really wet and we actually pulled out and haven't grazed the back half of this field. So this paddock would have been grazed from about the 10th of August at the front here, and then we came out from the back bit about a week ago when it just got too muddy for the calves and the cows out there. Do we change from grazing this with very little clover to go in to the herbal lays with a lot of clover? No, we haven't, but that being said, where the calves are getting grazed and the R2s, they tend to have a lot of clover in as well. So they're not cow paddocks, but I would say the cows are sort of used to eating a higher percentage of clover. So actually when they come from here to there, we haven't found, in 7 years I've had one cow with bloat. We would basically either shut them up for standing hay for dry cows, graze them down really tight, and then just come in here with a Vadastad, or like we have used like a Moore's uni drill and just direct drill, but at full rate, like 14 kilos. We've used like Festoloniums, ryegrasses, clover. I think in last year all we did was actually just put Italians in, because we have spent a lot of money trying to establish good grass lays, and if it floods it just washes away. And likewise, can we get it in the spring? I think by the time it dries out it's too late, and then it just burns up and then we can't establish anything then. But we are going to still persist trying to put some good grasses back in here. We're not leaving barren land, but it's what we can get to establish. So if anyone's got any great mixes that survive a lot of flooding, please let me know. But generally we would aim for first cut about the 15th of April. This is all like on away land, which is like gravel, so it is very dry. That would tend to be some like permanent silage lays, and then 50% of that would be like an Italian vetch and crimson clover drilled in after maize. And then the sort of quality of silage we're looking for is a 28% dry matter, which is probably some people would say quite wet, but on self-feed it's a perfect dry matter. 12 ME and about 16% protein. We are down on protein this year, but we have got the ME and the dry matter, and we have made some really good silage bales we're probably going to have to top the cows up with. We would normally have always cut maize by now. I think 13th of September is the latest we've ever cut maize, but it's still probably not going to be ready until the middle of next week when I went to look yesterday. So when we harvest the maize, we are mixing rape meal in with the maize. It's not overly scientific how you do it. They tip the trailer of maize up, we tip a JCB bucket of rape meal on top of it, and then you have to educate the buck rake driver that he fills the whole pit from the front to the back and doesn't just push 18 tonne of silage to the back and basically create a big void of rape meal for cows to gorge on. And then that works out at about 1.5 to 2 kilos of rape meal per day per cow. And then we're feeding 6 kilos of concentrate in the parlour. On that gravelly ground, like I said, you can travel pretty much all year. We would be able to go out there like middle of February, end of February, and fertilise that, so we can get on that early. to fertilise it. And it also comes down that gravel ground goes from being fantastic that you can travel on it to becoming very dry in the summer. So a first cut is our best cut, and then if we can get slurry or fertiliser on it and we can get some rain, we might get a second cut if we're lucky by like the start of June. But some years we haven't had any silage done until like the end of July, and by then we need to be making bales throughout winter, and so we always try to make like 120 to 140 acres of first cut and make plenty of it, and then hopefully we get a second cut, but we are relying heavily on that first cut silage. I'd say have a good relationship with your contractor. When the bill turns up, pay it, and then he turns up when you ring him, which would be number one, definitely. And then they know what sort of silage we want to make. I wouldn't be into like tedding grass that much unless it is a really heavy crop, but we would basically mow on like an afternoon, and then the forager would be here at 9:10 once the school traffic's left the village. He's here and we're chopping. How do we manage having variable growth year on year? Like I say, that probably does go back to having a good relationship with the contractor. They do grow a lot of maize and a lot of grass silage, and pit it themselves, so we are able to buy silage off of them if needed.